All right, so cortisol. That's what this is about. And I'm not here to tell you that it's got nothing to do with your hormones. I'm not here to tell you that it's got nothing to do with your cortisol. I'm here to tell you that it isn't actually cortisol, but I'm also going to explain to you what it is, what your hormones are doing right now, because what you're experiencing isn't something that you're imagining. It's not something that I'm going to be gaslighting. And I'm also going to make sure that you're not gaslighting yourself. Because once you realize what's true, what's not, it becomes so much easier to then do the things you need to do to get to where you want to be. And that makes you feel powerful because you're actually focusing on what's within your control. And that in itself is power. Because when you're too tied up in what's happening to your body, it's very hard for you to feel like you have any sense of agency. And I have oil in my hair. If you're watching the video, that's why my hair looked weird. I need to bring my camera onto the screen. But you've been told that cortisol increases our belly fat. It's hormonal. So now it makes it really difficult for us to know what to do. We're scared to train fasted, but now we're scared to not train fasted because fasted burns fat, but not fasted stores fat because cortisol. And you should eat carbs, but wait, you shouldn't eat carbs. But wait, you should train hard. But wait, training hard increases your cortisol. And then that will store belly fat. And then it just becomes what the hell is being said. And I don't know whether you've just looked at all of this information and got confused with it all, knew what was right, what was wrong in terms of training, what you should do in terms of your calories, whether your carbs should change, which I spoke about on the last solo podcast, where HIIT serves a purpose because HIIT increases cortisol, that's going to store belly fat, but then you're hearing you shouldn't do zone 2 because that's going to eat into your muscle and create fat gain. You should only do HIIT. It's fucking confusing, especially when you're in your 40s and it feels like everything is so fragile and it's just going to stick to you. And then we actually experience our belly feeling softer. And as I explained on the last podcast that I did, that is going to happen as your hormones shift, but more so as you go through the stresses of perimenopause and your body literally not knowing what the hell to expect with your hormones because it doesn't know. And the more that you keep trying to push yourself through this period, the more it's going to fight you back when you need to be working hand in hand. So cortisol is actually going to play a role here, but it's just not in the way that you think. Cortisol itself isn't the problem, but if cortisol is a problem, the question is, why is it a problem? Why are we not recovering from it? Because cortisol is always going to go up. It's always going to go down. It's meant to. It's there to keep us alive, to help us recover. It's there to make our bodies adapt the way that we want them to adapt. The way that they maladapt is when we can't recover from it. So that is the right question to be asking, not why is my cortisol the way it is, or what can I do to lower my cortisol? It's why do you need to lower your cortisol and why aren't you recovering from normal cortisol elevations and peaks? Years of dieting usually does this. Low carb obsession usually does this, which is why there's typically a lot more women with thyroid issues, Hashimoto's, autoimmune diseases. I don't think trauma should be used as a word because most of the time it's not even trauma. It's just the way that we went through life and the way that it made different things mean to us. That isn't trauma. That's just our coping mechanisms. It's the way that we were taught to survive. And by survive, I don't mean survive as species. I mean survive as in we want to protect our ego. We want to protect our sense of self, our sense of belonging, our Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That's pretty much all of what this is. It's not woo-woo bullshit. Like, we are humans that care about our sense of self, that care about our connections, and we don't want to be lonely. We don't want people to leave us. We don't want to have that kind of thing. That's what all of that means. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because those of you who have had harder pasts with emotions, with relationships, with any of this stuff that has led to emotional dysregulation in any kind of way or different forms of anxiety in any sort of way, then you're going to experience perimenopause harder than other women. If you've had years of dieting, not building up your muscle, not creating this healthy place, you're also going to experience it harder. And then there's also the genetics of it. If your mom experienced it really hard, you're going to experience it really hard yourself. And depending on your lifestyle, depending on your genetics as well, and when your mom started perimenopause, that will influence when you start your perimenopausal transition. That can be when you're even 35. It can start as early as then. All of this together creates a storm that makes it very hard to recover from stresses in our body. So then if we continue trying to diet harder, train harder, continue on the ways that we were taught in our 20s of how we need to lose fat and build muscle, of how we need to change our bodies, the way that many women go about fitness in general, low carb dieting, many women can eat a lot more calories than they realize. But because you've never given your body the opportunity to thrive on higher calories, you bottleneck yourself with what you're able to do and what you can do. Like in your 30s and 40s is the best time to make the most of maintenance to see where you can go. And I am so grateful that a lot of my 50-year-old ladies have been with me for over 6 years. I have 4 ladies in their 50s that have been with me for the last 8 years. One of them has been with me for 9 years, and they are slaying it. That one of them is traveling around Australia. And this is the thing, like it becomes a part of your lifestyle, something that you actually want to do, not something that becomes a chore because you're trying to fight away things. There's the fear of losing. There's a fear of gaining weight. By losing, I mean losing progress. Instead of coming from shame and guilt and this go harder, go home mentality, instead of coming from this place of fear, you're coming from it, or even self-beratement, you're coming from it from a place of empowerment, of chasing. That in itself is powerful. And that's when we stop thinking that cortisol is the thing that's the enemy, because all of these things that we try to do to fix our bodies or to stop our bodies from going in a certain way, because if we've never learned to be okay with our bodies before, or if we've only been okay with our bodies when they looked a certain way, it's going to be really freaking hard for you to go through the perimenopause transition without trying to fix things that don't need to be fixed. Instead of seeing it as a problem that needs to be fixed, we need to see it as something that needs to be worked with so that your body actually comes with you as a partner through the other side of perimenopause, which I like the saying, where do you ideally want to see yourself in 6 months from now, in 2 years from now, in 3 years from now? How can you set yourself up for the best possible success then? Because burning yourself out when your body is already burnt the fuck out from trying to deal with your hormonal fluctuations or trying to catch up on sleep that it didn't get because hormones, because your body is now sorer than usual, because hormones, because you're not recovering from your training sessions as per usual, because hormones, that is where hormones play the role, but hormones do not magically store fat. This is a hard period of time for you. Why are you forcing this upon your body? It's not going to be an easy place. This is complicated, but cortisol isn't the villain. Cortisol is just signaling to you where you need to look to address it so that you can work with your body. It's giving you the warning signs earlier. It's like, hello, I need you right now. I need you to stop forcing harder and start working with me so that shit doesn't blow off its nuts. I don't know, nuts and bolts. That's what came to mind. And trying to build up stress resilience, even getting a psychologist through this to work with you and your coach, if you have a coach, is going to be the best thing. So then you stop second guessing all of this stuff, because that's another stress in itself. I do want to touch on fasted training and what's really going on, because fat storage mode isn't actually a thing. However, you will shift your body fat to your middle section, because that's what the hormonal stuff does. And that is why building legs is the best thing that you can do in your 30s and 40s. Yet most of us avoid training quads because we don't want to get bulky. We avoid training legs in general because we don't like the fact that we need to buy new pants, and we can't stand buying new pants. But stronger legs, stronger, bigger leg muscles are going to be your longevity key into your older years. They are going to be the thing that keeps you going. They were going to be the thing that stops you from crashing and dying, literally, because it's falls, like falling over. That is the leading cause of death. Because when you're bedridden, just like in COVID, when there were a lot of people that died, sadly, it was just a disaster because they weren't even helping the situation. They didn't let us train. They didn't let us go to gyms, but we couldn't anyway if we were bedridden. If you're losing muscle mass and you're like lying in bed for that period of time, all while having this flu thing, that is a recipe for disaster, like especially when you're old. And yeah, a tough time. I don't really want to bring the emotions into that one, because this is a very real thing, and it's a very real thing happening to you right now. Because we are not getting younger. We're the youngest we'll ever be today, so everything that you do today counts. But what can make us feel like we are in fat storing mode is the hormones now also make it likelier that we're going to have more cravings, more hunger. We're not going to really want to eat high protein foods. A lot of women that are in their 40s and 50s struggle the most with trying to eat meats and proteins. It's more the carby stuff that you guys want, especially if you haven't yet built this lifestyle. And trying to build this lifestyle in a deficit is going to be the hardest thing for you, because you don't build habits in a deficit. You build habits in an environment that facilitates it. So menopause doesn't make you gain fat out of nowhere. It's the things that used to work stop working. Biology doesn't change all that much, but it does change in terms of hormones. So when your hormones shift, when what your body is demanding of you shifts, your strategy needs to shift with it. You can't be fighting each other. So faster cardio. Yes, it burns more fat through oxidation, but long-term, it burns less. You burn more fat long-term fed because you can give more energy and you'll recover a lot more after it. Now, this is if you're doing something intense. If you're going for a freaking walk, whatever, and if it's like, I would also question if it's just like, wake up, go to the gym, do faster cardio. Why? Why? Is there a purpose for it? Because if there's a purpose for it, I would rather you sleep in and eat a breakfast and do your training. If you're best off in the morning, do your training then. Do the most important thing to your body in the morning. Otherwise, just go for a freaking walk. That's fine. Yes, we do want some zone 2 in our lives, but even just getting in one zone 2 session is plenty enough. And the only way, because I want to sum up what I mentioned before about the confusion between eating away on muscle, yes, it will if you're not fueling it properly, if you're underfed, if you're overtrained, overexercised, and undertrained, if you're not recovering, if you're not sleeping, if you're, I already said underfueling, but also undernourishing, as in you're not getting in enough actual nutrients, if you're not eating enough calories in general, that is when you start eating away at the muscle. Because when you're over 30, over 35, anything you're not doing to try to build muscle, you're going to be losing muscle. That is why in a deficit, you need to be very freaking calculated when you're in your 30s, 40s, and onwards. And most women aren't, which is why they experience all the things they experience later on and have all of these issues. Like, you're not making it any easier for yourself. And this is where the gaslighting comes in. And I told you I'm not gaslighting you, but you're gaslighting yourself. You need to believe that this is possible for you down the road. Because if you don't believe this is possible for you down the road, you're going to keep trying to get rid of it now, rush it off now. But it will be possible for you if you think that everything needs to be on hold until this particular period of time versus you actually living your life now and finding a way that this can become a part of your life that you can see yourself doing in 70, when you're 70, 75, because I cannot see myself struggling the way that I see most women struggling when I'm 70. That is when shit hits the fan. You want to live your best life possible now, and you are not living your best life possible trying to eat 1,500 calories a day. And most people who say that they've been eating 1,500 calories every single day of their life and that's their maintenance, they haven't been doing that. They've just been trying to, and because it's so unsustainable to do, they haven't. And I had a client come to me ages ago. She would still be with me now if she didn't have a complete shocker shitfall that happened in her life. But she was working with me, and then she left me to go to another coach because she wanted to do something that she thought was against what I believe in. So she did that, and then she came to me desperate. I've had a couple of clients like this, but that's the thing. Like, you need to, like, you will only learn the hard way a lot of the time because you're human. But as long as you learn from your mistakes and remove the shame, because if they did not come to me after that, because they know that I'm not someone who shames people, came to me, and one of them, we're still working together, but the other one, no, because she had to deal with something else. But she's like, I'm trying to stick to this. I'm very good on it, blah, blah, blah. And then later on, she's just like, to be honest, I'm actually trying to hit it, but I'm not tracking everything that I'm eating because it's very hard to see everything calculate up properly. And then I feel bad for it. So then I just track until I hit the numbers, and whatever else, it's just whatever. And I'm like, okay, this is the issue. And she was very happy to eat more food. She's like, I'm very happy to finally be eating real food again. Like, I can actually cook dinners and not feel guilty about it. And that's a very sad thing, but it's the reality. And this is where cortisol belly also comes in, because now we're stressing out about all of this stuff. We're holding more water weight. And then if we can't stick to things, well, yes, we're doing all of the things. We're not recovering. I spoke to another lady who reached out to me, and she's like, well, if it's not cortisol, what is it? And I'm like, well, I'm guessing you're exhausted, blah, blah, blah. And then she's like, well, I'm tracking my macros. We went through the whole thing. And then she's like, well, to be honest, on the weekends, I can't even motivate myself to do anything. So I'm lying on the couch the whole time. Well, your deficit isn't a deficit then because you're not getting even 1,000 steps on the weekend. Or maybe you're getting like 3,000 max. That doesn't compute at your age, especially when you're not even training in a way to facilitate metabolism. When you're training your butt off, not recovering, your body isn't building muscle because it's not in a place to do that. Cortisol doesn't allow for that. And you're not recovering. So cortisol isn't in a, like, that's not even just cortisol. That's just your body not recovering as well. Like, this is why having strategy matters. This is why being able to fuel yourself. I'm hoping what you get out of this podcast is it's just the same. Like, the more that we try to force something that isn't working, the harder it's going to fight back. Sometimes we need to slow down to speed up and be okay with just eating more food for a longer period of time. And I honestly don't understand why that is so, well, I do because I was there, but I like learned in that process. And what I'm trying to say is, like, if this has not been working for you thus far, why is it so hard to do something different? Like, what is it? Is it because you don't trust that it's going to work for you? Is it because you're scared that you're going to lose any little progress that you did have? Like, what is it? Because metabolism is made up of 4 things. Your actual BMR is like what your mass is, which is mostly made out of your organs and your muscle mass. So if we can do everything we can to keep that muscle mass, that's key. Like that's the thing that we want to keep, because that is going to keep on giving. And then it's your movement outside of the day. And if you're smashing yourself with your workouts to only then be exhausted for most of the day, therein is the issue. There's your cortisol issue. It's the fact that we've been smashing ourselves so much, trying to eat little calories, but we can be sticking completely well to our macros. That other lady wasn't. She said that she's tracking her macros, but she finds it hard to stick to. But she's hitting her macros, but she finds it hard to stick to. And I'm like, so what is it? Well, I hit them most of the time. Well, there we go. That's gaslighting yourself. And it's because you don't believe, like, you can do this. Like, your body wants to feel like it's thriving. And if you keep beating upon it with more and more stuff instead of, here's a takeaway, just, I'm going to give you something to take away from this. I promise. But I just want to lay out this thing. Okay, so we touched on the fasted training. Carbs help with this because they buffer cortisol. If we cut out the carbs, that's when we have the higher hunger. I did a whole podcast on carbs. It's the one before this one of my solos, but they're going to help. And you'll find that if you aren't going to give your body the carbs it needs to recover, you'll find yourself hungrier, even though your belly is full. It's like, well, I'm still hungry. I want to eat. I have this like weird, because your blood sugar is doing like this weird thing, and that's what carbs also help with. And that is something you need to respect with your body. Like, you need to be okay with fueling yourself enough. And this is also where we need to be careful with where caffeine fits into this. A lot of the time I forget to talk about caffeine, but you shouldn't be having caffeine past like past 10 o'clock a.m. Because if you do that, that's going to impact your sleep, and you've already got hormonal chaos as it is. So yes. And then going back off the whole, what makes up your metabolism, there's that movement. There's also your food quality. There's eating more protein, which you need your protein to be able to recover the muscle. And then there's the exercise, but the exercise is just as little as how much you burn with your food. But with the exercise, you can burn a lot more than the typical person if you build up your strength. If you build up your training capacity, you get more out of less. And a lot of women don't have that, because there's a lot more of a compensation where whatever they put in comes out from elsewhere without you realizing, because that's what the body does. And if you're not fueling that, you're going to have more of a compensation as well, because you can do more, but you need to fuel that more if you want it to work for you. So what I want you to take from this is you need to fuel enough to train hard, but you also need to fuel your recovery 3 to 4 times a week. Be okay with 3 days if your body is in a high state of not sleeping well and feeling like shit. Just make sure that you go outside, get your walks, even when you don't want to. They're not meant to be punishment. They're meant to be your mental health. I've had a couple of clients that have had to do that. They just had to go and get their walks because there's no damn way they were going to face that gym. And if you force yourself to go to the gym when your body is screaming no, that's going to become a place where it's resentment. Like, yeah, force yourself sometimes if you know that it's an excuse, but sometimes we have very valid reasons. And that is where you need to, I don't even know if gaslight's the right word here, but you need to stop shooting yourself there. And if you can only manage half a workout and you wanted to get the workout in, because if you didn't, then there would be nothing put in. Sometimes you just need to go in and get half a workout done, because that's better than nothing. Because right now we want to protect our bone and muscle health. We don't want to force it, but we don't want to completely fall off either. Hyperpalatable foods need to be minimized as much as possible, because they're just going to make you crave more. So be really careful with those. Have stress coping tools that aren't food. Recovery, I already mentioned that. I already mentioned trying to do everything you can to protect your sleep. Highly recommend melatonin. There's a brand that I absolutely love on iHerb. Message me and I'll shoot you the link. Don't let others gaslight you, but also don't gaslight yourself. Because yes, it does come down in calories, but there is no point telling you it comes down to calories when you're experiencing something completely different and you're not being understood. And this is where you need to now not gaslight yourself and allow yourself to understand yourself. Why are you feeling the way you're feeling? What is it that you're putting in? Because your body is just responding to the inputs that you're giving it. So what are those inputs? What do you need to reteach it? Because right now it freaks out at the thought of more food, or you freak out at the thought of more food. If the scales are still on your mind all the time, like, it doesn't mean gain fat. It doesn't mean gain weight, lose progress by letting go of the scales. It means allowing yourself to figure out what you need to focus on so that you can get the results without obsessing over the very things that are triggering you. If you can figure out a meal plan structure that facilitates your dinners with the family, desserts, plan something out that's full of whole foods, high protein, having at least 35 grams of protein in each of your meals, starting your breakfast off with a shit ton of plants, whether it's fruit or veg, and a shit ton of protein. Let that fill you up. Plan your dessert in first and your breakfast in first. Sandwich your day. And then plan in whatever dinner it is you want to have, because most of the time that's what we want to have with the family. You've got those calories locked in there now. You've got those protein numbers hit in there now. Now you can plan the other 2 meals or 3 meals, depending. But I typically like meal 1, meal 4, dessert, and then meal 2 and 3 in the middle. That's typically how I love it. Figure that part out and actually plan ahead for it. Don't just try to wing it. Like, plan ahead, and don't try to plan ahead with 1,200 calories on your freaking MyFitnessPal. Like, no, that isn't going to happen. Give yourself an actual chance to succeed. Like, aim for at least 1,700. Like, 1,700's a great low maintenance number for most of you. I'd say 1,800, but 1,700 at bare minimum. If you can, set it to 1,900 and just make sure that you go get your 8 to 10,000 steps at bare minimum. 8 to 10,000 steps, bare minimum. Walk for stress, not for weight loss, not for chores, not for forcing upon yourself. Like, actually treat it like that. Sleep and protect it as much as you can. I can't really force sleep upon you, but we can set up the environment to at least make it better than it is, whatever hormonal shit's going on or stress is going on. You're not always going to have great nights. Do that, and I promise you your body will thank you. Please send any of these episodes to anyone who needs to hear it. I really want to grow my podcast. I put so much effort into this thing, and I am trying my very best not to sound like another chat GP podcast read along, and try to write down my notes as best as I can and give you whatever it is you need. And I think the tangents are kind of very Ruby-like, but I also feel like they interweave all the different elements together to help make sense of complex topics. But I'm always happy to elaborate if you guys reach out to me. I want to make this help you in some way. And I'm going to be sharing a couple of personal stories that I think will really help you with the way that it helped me with my journey. But either way, I hope this helps. I want you guys to just figure out something that you can stay consistent with your meal structure. Plan it ahead of time. Plan in your rest times, plan in your training times, spend more time eating more food. Like, just give yourself the chance. Move away from the scale metrics and start to focus on the stuff that matters. Start to focus on how much better you feel, how much more energized you feel. Love you all. Please, please give me a 5-star rating. It will mean the world to me.